So I've gutted the cavity. I thought I'd try and get a video camera in here so you can get an idea of the way this thing's been finished. Now I've probably cleaned this out in the past because you can see what they do on cheap guitars. You can see this white residue. That's just from where they don't clean the lacquer and things like that out. I dare say I've been in there in the past with a brush, but you can just see what a state these kind of guitars get in. And you can see the original, some of the original wood showing through. Well, I say wood, there's lots of sort of filler and the surface is really uneven. It's horrible in here. So it leads me to the conclusion that really it needs a coat of conductive paint. It's probably enough to go around the sides. I mean, I dare say that is conductive paint, and maybe I've painted it in the past or whatever, but you know, or maybe this is just their black paint. I can't really remember. I'd need to continuity test it to see if there's any, if it is actually conductive. So now the jack socket is still connected. So in order to get at this, and if I do want to paint it, I'm going to need to just undo the screws and take this wire out of the way. And the same goes for the switch area. Look, you can see the same problem here. It's the original. I mean, that feels like wood filler to me. I mean, I can't see in there properly, but it feels like some sort of wood filler. So maybe I've painted it, or maybe I've just cleaned it. I can't really remember. It's another example of why cheap guitars are a bit of a waste of money, because once you invest time and the resources needed to make it into a proper functioning instrument, then you may as well have bought a better guitar in the first place. Ugh, it's horrible. So that's going to be stage 2. Stage 1 is stripping. Stage 2, conductive paint. And I'll come back with a lesson about conductive paint in a second. So when we're thinking about the cavity and insulation, you can often buy this copper tape. It's one way of doing it. It's basically you lay it, just tape it across the cavity, and then you earth this via one of the earths on the back of the pots, or via the string earth, you know, take a feed from the string earth or whatever, anywhere where it's earthed on the circuit, and then you've got an insulation. So that's one way of doing it. It's copper tape. You'll find it on eBay. So that's one solution for insulation. Another solution is conductive shielding paint. This I bought from eBay as a little kit, and it's really, this is to illustrate a warning for all of you about buying things like this, because obviously you can buy a little brush from anywhere. So when you want to go and clean out the cavity, you can use a brush to get rid of any of this residue, which I must have done in the past. But pre-injection swabs, which is basically an alcoholic paper towel, you know, just really to clean up any of this residue. They're just suggesting you use alcohol, which is great as a, you know, but you can buy this anywhere. So a rub, a brush, a little pad, just for cleaning up obviously components or wires or anything. You can use that just another stage of your cleanup, or to get the fingerprints off your. They give you a strip of copper tape, and here they give you a little socket type thing that you can attach your earth to, and then attach it. Part of the, you can put a strip in there, which they've actually given you a little bit of copper tape, so you can have a little strip coming from the inside attached to one of the earths or anything, and then you can, from your wiring, you can go into this and you can feed it out into your copper tape or whatever, as long as it ends up on the shielding. So I thought, well, okay, when it comes to conductive shielding paint, basically it's filings. It's like graphite filings. Now you can buy raw graphite filings on eBay very, very cheaply, and you buy it in various quantities, like, you know, a certain amount of grams, 50 grams, 150 grams, or 250 grams, or whatever. Now in this bottle, and you think, there's the size of my finger, that's how big the bottle is. Does it have a, I'm reading how much this is. You know, this is a very small amount. Of that bottle, probably about from there to there, maybe half of it, maybe that's graphite filings. So the cost of which, maybe, I don't know, 2 pence, 5 pence, English pence, you know, not even a pound, you know, and certainly not $1. And then the rest of it is a combination of glue and water. I've seen people using things like wood glue. Now you can, when you actually buy the filings, what you can do is you can have some filings, put a little bit of glue in there, whatever glue you're using, and then mix it up with a little bit of water so it becomes enough that you can get it to a consistency where you can paint it into a cavity like this. So you're just trying to get it to a kind of paint-like consistency. Then what you do is just paint it on a bit of paper, like A4 paper, and just run a strip down from that and let it dry. And then get your electrical continuity tester and then run it from one end of the strip to the other, and just see what your reading is in terms of how well that is conducting the signal. And then you can try various glues out, but I've seen, there's plenty of information about this on the internet, so I've seen some standard kind of wood glue used, and it works quite well. So I would try something like that rather than going to the extra expense of buying a kit, because you're never going to get your money's worth if you buy a kit, because obviously you're buying enough extra bits to pollute the planet with. Plastic, plastic, plastic. It's just not good. You can just mix your conductive paint into a jam jar or whatever jar you have to hand, and then, you know, obviously put the lid on when you're finished, and then you can paint it on, you know, however you want to do it. Obviously take the lid off first, and then put the lid on, and then next time you need to do another guitar or whatever, then if you get the jar and open the jar and the conductive paint is too thick, just add water. Add a little bit of water and get it to the right consistency. Just mix it up and get it to a consistency where, you know, you can paint it. Anyway, this is the next stage of messing about with a cheap Chinese guitar in order to get it into a condition where it's going to be playable and reliable. And it's, in my opinion, it takes too much time, and it's just not worth it. Buy the real thing. So I'm going to sign out, and I'm going to do a little bit of work, and I may film it. So I've just heated my soldering iron up, and I'm just going to clear up some of this old wiring. Any of the wires that are reusable, I'm going to circuit test all of them before reuse. I'm just going to clean the tip. Taking care not to burn your hands. Remove a little bit of the excess solder. It's going on to a little wet sponge. So I'm just cleaning the tip as I go along. Put the sponge there. So just untangling all this. Whatever I can't untangle, I'm going to just snip. It's probably all going to be removed anyway and replaced with better wire. Usually better to start these things again with some fresh thinking, and you get your wiring better. It's worth noting that take precautions. Try not to breathe this stuff in. Every moment you spend There's a moment wasted. You could be playing the guitar, not doing this. I'm only doing this because I'm injured at the moment. My cyst in my hand, so I'm resting, trying to let the cyst go down. So these are the sort of jobs that get, just for me, get done last, you know, or out of necessity. I wouldn't normally waste time on this sort of thing. It's just, I don't think it's worth it. But I know that people will like to see, you know, instruments being worked on. So for those of you less experienced, you know, you should know how to repair your instruments. It's way better to be doing this yourself than paying someone else to do it. But just if you are going to do it on something that's worth it. Don't give yourself loads and loads of work. This is not to say that there are not good cheap guitars. There certainly are. Quite a number of years ago I bought a Strat, and it was made by Squire, and it's a great guitar. I mean, all right, I bought it in an era where they were being made, is it Korea or somewhere like that, not in China. And it's a good guitar. But ever since the 80s, Squire guitars have had a good reputation, like a sort of a connoisseur's guitar, that if you knew how to find the right one, you were onto a winner, really. Instead of paying, you know, even some USA Fender Strats aren't the best quality, and that's why people get custom shop models, you know, because you know you've kind of got a bit more reliability. So I'm just going to take these screws off. Turn the fan off. Hoping I've got the right screwdriver. I may not have enough leverage, I do. What a lot of messing about. Good thing I have the time at the moment. Sort of. Do have other things I'd like to be doing. So if you've got gold-plated screws and you want to retain the look of the gold, just covering the screw head with something just to cushion the metal on metal effect is a good idea. Now, I don't know whether you can see, but right here is some powder coming through. And that, I believe, is where the lacquer... Yeah, look at that. You see all that powder? Okay, now I'm going to get the camera in there. Let's get the camera in there, and I'll show you the powder. So that's where I put the jack socket just now, and all this is residue, and here is the jack socket. Can you see the residue there? And here, and look at all of this. And all of that in there. So that is that residue, and that's what needs to be cleaned, and it's all around the edge. So it all has to be cleaned out. It's just where they don't clean up properly after themselves. You have to remember that on cheap guitars, they don't spend time. They basically put the guitar together in the quickest possible time and get as many out the door as they can. And all of this stuff, look, it's got on this contact there. You know, it's really bad. You know, imagine when you if you put contact spray in here, imagine how many times you're going to need to put contact spray in there to combat that. I can't believe actually I didn't take that apart. Maybe I did take it apart, maybe I did work on it, and maybe that's happened since. I don't know, because that would be very unusual. I normally spray most of my guitars and I normally clean them out, so there's obviously so much rubbish in this. So that's where the alcohol strips and the little brush are going to come in handy now. I have no idea if this camera angle will work, but I'm going to clean up that joint. Let's give it a clean. So that is so bad. Really bad. What an absolute mess. Well, I'll use the kit. Pad. I'll change the camera angle in a minute and I'll put it in from the other end, but this will need to spray, but these holes. What a mess. I'll change camera angle, I'll show you the spray. Servosol Super 10 switch cleaning lubricant. You give it a shake and you just give it a spray, you know, when it's in there. Just spray it in there. Okay, I'll change camera angle now. The irony is, once you've finished all this work, you've got a guitar that is inferior to a, let's say, a Gibson, a real Gibson Les Paul. And yet you've done all this work just to bring it somewhere closer to it, and yet the hardware, the body and the neck is, in one of these, is completely inferior. So you may as well have bought a proper guitar in the first place. So I've got 3 wires here. One is the string earth, and the other 2 are from the pickups, which I'm going to remove in a second once I've cleaned up as much of this compartment as possible. Which is what they should have done. So if you spend $200 or $300 on a guitar and think, oh, I've just saved myself $1,500 because this one sounds as good as a Gibson or a PRS or a Godin. This is the false economy in action. And it's been loused up in places, and it's full of wood filler, these odd feeling surfaces. So where normally everything was supposed to be flat, it's all kind of just all feels wrong. So I want it as clean as I can get it in here, because obviously I want to paint, get what's left of the conductive paint, and I'm going to put that in here. I might even give that a bit more of a dust goes everywhere. Look at this. And yeah, these, when it comes down to it, there was one of the luthiers, Torres, I think it was. If you look up classical guitars, Torres was one of the early designers of more of the modern era of guitars, Spanish guitars I'm talking about. And he did a demo with a sound top made of like papier-mâché, whatever it's called, papier-mâché, and which is just paper and glue. So he made a sound top of paper and glue, and what he was demonstrating, is that you have expensive spruce or whatever on the sound top, that you can still do it as long as something conducts the vibrations. It will still work. So in a cheap guitar, you have cheap woods, and yes, it'll vibrate and work the way it's supposed to, in a way. All right, it may not be as good as more expensive wood, but the more factors that were involved now in a Spanish guitar, if you've got cheap wood's going to have more of a factor in an acoustic guitar because that's the way the guitar is going to sound. Now in an electric guitar, you have pickups. So to me, the primary point of a guitar, electric guitar, are the pickups. So if your pickups are, say, Seymour Duncans or DiMarzio's, or, you know, expensive pickups, they are going to make the biggest difference, in my opinion, on an electric guitar than a cheap pickup. Now there is a caveat to that, because I've heard some very good mid-priced pickups that I've seen guys swap out their cheaper pickup, like I've seen people do it in Epiphones. They've swapped out the Wilkinson pickups and put in, say, an Iron Gear or whatever they, you know, these people do, and I haven't heard that much difference. Now, if the pickup that you're changing, if you've, say, changed a Wilkinson pickup in an Epiphone, which is just, say, a Wilkinson humbucker, and you change it to a vintage spec humbucker, let's say a vintage spec blues engine Iron Gear, something like that. I've seen guys swapping these things out. Don't sound that much difference. It's not to say they aren't different, but I'm just saying the difference when you are swapping pickups out, if there's something you don't like about the pickup, I mean, okay, if it's something to do with balance, the whole idea of having individual pole pieces in your across the pickup is that they are all adjustable. So if you have an imbalance, adjust your pole pieces first before doing anything, and also check the height of the pickup against the strings, because if your string and the pickup is the wrong height, and you can check with the manufacturer's specs. If you've got a Les Paul, just use Gibson standard specs. Look up look up the specs and see what you've got. So in other words, check all the variables out first, and then, now this is just my opinion. Of course, if you have any comments, then please, you know, let me know, and place your comments below. Just be nice. You know, I'm only relating stuff that I've learned over the years. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I'm happy to be corrected. But it's just that I guess I've been working on guitars a long time, playing guitar for a long time. So I found certain things that I think I know to be true, and there are going to be other things that maybe I've got wrong. Assumption is the mother of all mess-ups, as is often said.
So why not make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel? You can subscribe here.